Today, we are going to journey thousands of meters below the waves to uncover the secrets of the giant isopod and the science behind why deep-sea animals grow so huge. First, let us get to know the star of our story, the giant isopod, scientifically named Bathynomus giganteus. If you have ever seen a common woodlouse or pillbug in your garden, you already have a rough idea of what a giant isopod looks like, except scaled up to an astonishing size. A typical shallow water isopod might only grow to a few centimeters long, but a fully grown giant isopod can reach between 19 and 36 centimeters in length, with some unconfirmed reports of individuals reaching up to 76 centimeters long and weighing nearly 2 kilograms. That is like taking a tiny garden bug and blowing it up to the size of a small pet. These creatures belong to the same crustacean family as shrimp, crabs, and lobsters, but they have evolved to thrive in one of the most extreme habitats on Earth. They live on the muddy bottoms of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans at depths ranging from 170 meters all the way down to over 2,100 meters in the bathyal and abyssal zones, where complete darkness reigns supreme. Their bodies are built for survival. A tough, calcified exoskeleton protects them from the crushing pressure. Their large compound eyes, with thousands of facets, can detect even the faintest glimmers of bioluminescent light, and their long antennae help them sniff out food in the pitch-black water. They are slow-moving, solitary creatures that spend most of their time resting on the seafloor or burrowing in the mud to conserve energy, a vital trait in the world where meals are few and far between. To understand why giant isopods and other deep-sea creatures grow so large, we need to look at the unique conditions of the deep ocean and how they shape evolution. The first and most important factor is cold water temperature. The deep sea is unbelievably cold, with temperatures staying between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius year-round, colder than the inside of a household refrigerator. For cold-blooded marine animals, like the giant isopod, this extreme cold slows down their metabolism to a near standstill. Unlike shallow water animals that have fast metabolisms, grow quickly, and have short lifespans, deep-sea creatures grow at an incredibly slow rate and live much longer lives. A small shallow water isopod might only live for 5 or 6 years, reaching maturity within a year and never growing very large. But a giant isopod takes more than 10 years to reach sexual maturity and can live for up to 30 years, continuing to grow slowly throughout its entire life. This slow growth and long lifespan give them plenty of time to reach enormous sizes. Scientists also link this to Bergmann's rule, a principle that states that larger body sizes are common in colder environments because larger animals lose heat more slowly, making them more efficient at surviving in low temperatures. For deep-sea invertebrates, cold water also increases cell size, which directly contributes to larger overall body structure. Every part of their biology is slowed down by the cold, allowing them to grow bigger than anyone would expect in such a harsh place. The second key piece of the puzzle is high dissolved oxygen levels. You might think that the deep ocean has little oxygen, but the opposite is true. Cold, high-pressure water can hold much more oxygen than warm, shallow water. A large body needs more oxygen to function, and the deep sea provides an abundant supply of dissolved oxygen that supports these giant sizes. Giant isopods have evolved specialized gills, called pleopods, which have a large surface area to absorb as much oxygen as possible from the surrounding water. This oxygen-rich environment acts like a natural size limit booster, letting these creatures grow far larger than their shallow water cousins that live in oxygen-poor, warm waters. Without this extra oxygen, maintaining such a large body would be impossible, as their cells and tissues would not get the energy they need to function. This is one of the critical reasons why gigantism is so common in the deep sea, but extremely rare in shallow, warmer marine environments. Next, we have to talk about food scarcity, which might seem counterintuitive at first. How can animals grow huge in a place where food is incredibly hard to find? The deep sea is a food desert. There is no sunlight, so no plants can grow, and nearly all food comes from marine snow, tiny bits of organic matter, dead plankton, fish waste, and decaying animals that slowly drift down from the surface waters. Only a tiny fraction of this food ever reaches the deep seafloor, and large meals like a dead whale or giant fish are few and far between, sometimes only coming once every few years. In this kind of environment, being big is a huge advantage, thanks to Kleiber's law, which tells us that larger animals have a much lower metabolic rate per unit of body weight. That means a giant isopod uses far less energy for its size than a small isopod does. Larger bodies also mean more space to store energy and fat reserves, allowing giant isopods to survive for years without eating a single meal. When a big food source does sink to the bottom, a giant isopod can gorge itself and store enough nutrients to last until the next meal arrives. Smaller animals simply cannot store enough energy and would starve during long periods without food. So in the deep sea, growing giant is not just a random trait, it is a survival strategy that lets these animals thrive where smaller creatures would perish. The fourth reason for deep sea gigantism is reduced predation pressure. The shallow ocean is full of predators, fish, birds, marine mammals, and other hunters that are constantly on the hunt. Smaller, faster-growing animals have a better chance of avoiding predators and reproducing early, but the deep sea is a much quieter, safer place. There are far fewer predators, and most of those that do live there are also slow-moving and specialized. This means giant isopods and other deep-sea giants do not have to rush to mature or stay small to avoid being hunted. They can take their time, growing, investing energy in getting larger instead of escaping predators. A bigger body also acts as a natural defense. Few deep-sea predators can attack or consume a fully grown giant isopod with its thick armored exoskeleton. Over millions of years, this lack of predation allowed these creatures to evolve larger and larger bodies without the risks that come with being big in shallow waters. The stability of the deep-sea environment, which has changed very little for millions of years, also helps animals do not need to adapt quickly to changing conditions, so they can refine slow, steady growth into a permanent trait. The final piece of the science behind deep-sea gigantism comes down to genetic and cellular adaptations. Recent studies on the giant isopod genome have found that they have expanded gene families related to growth hormones, nutrient absorption, and energy storage. Unlike their smaller relatives, giant isopods have genes that make their lipid degradation very inefficient, meaning they hold onto fat and energy much better. Their cells are also larger and more durable, designed to withstand high pressure and low energy intake. These genetic changes are not random. They are the result of millions of years of natural selection, where only the largest, most efficient individuals survived and passed on their genes. Every part of their biology, from their hormones to their digestive systems, is tuned to support a large body in the deep ocean. Giant isopods are not the only example of deep-sea gigantism either. The ocean depths are home to many other giants. Giant squid that can grow longer than a school bus, giant oarfish that stretch for meters, huge amphipods, and giant tube worms that live near hydrothermal vents. All of these creatures follow the same rules: cold water, high oxygen, food scarcity, low predation, and slow growth. The giant isopod is just the most accessible and fascinating example for us to study, because its body shape and lifestyle make the effects of gigantism so obvious to see. It is a living fossil too. Its basic body structure has barely changed in over 160 million years, proving that this giant survival strategy is incredibly successful. When we look at the giant isopod and the mystery of deep-sea gigantism, we learn something truly amazing about life on Earth. Life does not just survive in extreme environments, it adapts and thrives in ways that seem impossible. The deep sea, once thought to be a lifeless, barren wasteland, is full of unique, incredible creatures that have evolved to master the harshest conditions on the planet. The giant isopod's huge size is not a quirk of nature, but a perfect, elegant solution to the challenges of living in the deep ocean. It reminds us that evolution always finds a way, turning the darkest, coldest, most food-poor place on Earth into a home for some of the biggest creatures in the sea. The next time you think about the ocean, do not just picture colorful coral reefs or playful dolphins. Remember, the giant isopod roaming the dark abyssal plains, a living testament to the power of adaptation. The deep sea still holds countless secrets, and every time we learn more about creatures like the giant isopod, we get a little closer to understanding the full wonder of our planet's oceans. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel